Hey everyone, Luke here with Indoor Balance, and today we're going to talk about the calcium to potassium ratio on a hair test. Now, I'm just going to talk about how we interpret the test on the hair sample. I'm not going to really go into how we go about healing the thyroid, what supplements we use and stuff like that. If you want more information on how we go about healing the thyroid and all that stuff, I actually did a podcast with the wonderful Wendy Myers, and I will put a link down below that you guys can access it. It's just about a 45 to 50 minute podcast that we did. We talked about everything that has to do with the thyroid, how you heal it, what causes it today, how we interpret it, and all these different things about the thyroid, okay? So, the calcium to potassium ratio on a hair test is how we interpret the thyroid, okay? So as you can see, this is a standard slow oxidizer pattern. Calcium and magnesium are above ideal levels, and then sodium and potassium are below ideal levels. This is a standard slow oxidizer pattern, like I said. Now, let's talk about the reasons why we use calcium and potassium as indicators for the thyroid. So calcium has to do with cell permeability. Now, this is important because the cells have to be permeable to all hormones, including thyroid hormones. So the higher the calcium, the less permeable cells are. So if calcium is too high, like in a slow oxidizer pattern, that means the cells are not permeable to the thyroid hormones. And that means that no matter how many hormones the thyroid is producing, it doesn't matter because the cells aren't getting enough. That's why people have all these hypothyroidism symptoms, and they go to the doctor to get their thyroid levels checked and they get the blood test done, but the blood test comes back normal. That's because the blood test just tells you how much of the hormone the thyroid is secreting. But like I said, you can have all these symptoms, and then the doctor looks at the test. He's like, well, it looks like your thyroid's producing enough. We don't really know what's wrong. But you can be lethargic, you can have fatigue, you can have trouble with weight loss, and all these different things. And the reason is because even though the thyroid is producing enough of the hormones, the cells are not permeable to the hormones, okay? So the other one we use in the ratio is potassium. Potassium is regulated by the thyroid at the cellular level, and it's how we see how well the thyroid hormone is being utilized at the cellular level, okay? So we have how well it's being utilized at the cellular level and cell permeability. Now these are two very important steps for your thyroid. Most people most people and many doctors just examine, the thyroid and how many hormones it's producing, but they don't realize it's 3 different steps, okay? Your thyroid, number 1, has to be producing enough hormones, the cells have to be permeable to the hormones, and then once the hormone is inside the cells have to be utilizing it properly. So this is very important to realize, okay? So you need selenium and iodine for your thyroid to produce the T4 in the first place, and to produce the T3. And then your cells have to be permeable to the thyroid hormone, and then once they're inside the cells, your body has to be able to convert the T4 to T3, and the mitochondria have to actually be able to utilize the thyroid hormones effectively. Copper can block this. High mercury is also an indicator for thyroid weakness, because all these things get inside the cells and they block. Okay, they block, and the metal enzyme binding sites, they actually will block the cells from utilizing the thyroid hormones adequately, okay? So that's important to realize. So how skewed this ratio is will tell you the effect of the thyroid at the cellular level. If calcium is very high, potassium is very low, that means you're going to have a very weak thyroid, okay? Whereas this balances out, okay, and these are more towards an ideal level, you're going to have a more normal functioning thyroid. And that's why we use it to determine the oxidation rate. I've made videos about this before, where the oxidation rate is basically the metabolism of the body. And the thyroid ratio is one way we determine it, okay? It's actually the adrenal ratio, which is sodium over magnesium minus calcium over potassium for a slow oxidizer, okay? That's because we use the adrenals and the thyroid because those are the 2 energy mechanisms of your body, okay? So the thyroid ratio is telling us one energy mechanism, and then the adrenal ratio is telling us the other energy mechanism, okay? So the adrenals and the thyroid are the 2 major energy mechanisms, and these together determine the oxidation rate. That's why there's underactive thyroid in slow oxidizers, because there's also underactive adrenals, okay? This is slow oxidation, slow metabolism, which means that there's less hormones, okay? There's less thyroid hormones and there's less adrenal hormones. Whereas a fast oxidizer would have excessive thyroid hormones and excessive adrenal hormones, okay? So the thyroid ratio makes 1/2 of how we determine the oxidation rate. So it's important to realize is that the thyroid and the adrenals are the two main energy mechanisms of the body, okay? The thyroid basically is like the spark plugs, okay? And then the adrenals are kind of like the gas mixture, okay? So the adrenals, they make the fuel and they mix the fuel properly with enough air, and then once it's the adrenal hormones are inside the cells, the thyroid are like hormones are like the spark plug, and they have to ignite the fuel mixture, okay? So both determine, how well your engine is running, okay? So that's how we determine the thyroid. I'll make another video and I'll talk about the supplements we use, certain conditions that we have to treat with the thyroid, limiting stress and all these different things. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please subscribe and like the video. And like I said, I'll put a link below. You can check out the podcast I did with Wendy Myers, where we actually touched upon everything to do with the thyroid, including this ratio, the diet, saunas, iodine antagonist. We talked about everything to do with the thyroid. So I hope that helps you guys out, and I'll talk to you guys later.